The welcome-back dinner at Sebastian's family estate marked a reunion filled with nostalgia. Sicil, overwhelmed by Sebastian's sudden arrival, felt a unique blend of excitement and uncertainty. As the morning sun cast a warm glow over the neighborhood, Sebastian remained determined with a newfound resolve. He embarked on his mission to spend the day with Sicil. Making his way to her house, he could not contain the anticipation bubbling within him. When Sebastian approached Sicil's house, the morning air was crisp with anticipation. He noticed Mr. Anderson, Sicil's father, stepping out of the front door, briefcase in hand, ready to head to work, and saw Mrs. Anderson seeing him off at the door. Even after years of marriage, they looked so much in love. Sebastian wished the same instantly for him and Sicil too. "Good morning, Jane," Sebastian greeted her warmly with a quick kiss on Mrs. Anderson's cheek and a hopeful gleam in his eyes. "Good morning to you too, Sebastian," and Mrs. Anderson replied with a friendly smile, returning the greeting. Mr. Anderson asked, "Off to see Sicil?" Sebastian nodded, a hint of eagerness evident in his voice. "Yes, sir, I wanted to surprise her this morning." Mr. Anderson chuckled softly, a knowing twinkle in his eye. But Mrs. Anderson replied, "She's not here at the moment, I'm afraid. Off to her classes bright and early." Sebastian's expression fell slightly, but he quickly regained his composure, determined not to let this setback deter him. "I see. No worries. I will catch her after her classes." Mr. Anderson nodded approvingly, patting Sebastian on the shoulder in a fatherly gesture. "That's the spirit, lad. She will be thrilled to see you, I am sure." With that, Mr. Anderson bid Sebastian farewell, wishing him luck on his quest to surprise Sicil. As Sebastian watched him depart, he could not help but feel a surge of determination coursing through him. He would make this day special for Sicil, no matter what it took. Undeterred, Sebastian refused to let this setback dampen his spirits. Finding a nearby cafe, he settled in, passing the time with a cup of coffee and his laptop, catching up on work, all the while eagerly anticipating Sicil's return. Each passing minute felt like an eternity as he eagerly counted down the moments until he could finally reunite with her. His heart raced with a mix of excitement and nervousness. From a distance, he watched as the college gates opened, revealing Sicil's figure stepping out into the daylight. Sebastian's anticipation reached its peak, but before he could catch her gaze, to his surprise, a guy on the bike warmly greeted her. The stranger seemed familiar to Sicil, with the casual ease of someone who had been a part of Sicil's life during his absence. Sebastian observed Sicil and the other guy bantering and laughing. A knot formed in his stomach, tightening with each passing moment. He felt his jaw clench involuntarily, a subtle sign of jealousy simmering beneath the surface. He could not help but wonder if he was being replaced, if someone else had stepped in to fill the void he had left in Sicil's life. He observed from a distance, a silent spectator to their interaction. The surrounding atmosphere was serene, the gentle breeze carrying snippets of their dialogue to Sebastian's ears. It unfolded like a scene from a distant dream, leaving him with a wild mix of emotions. Smilingly, Sicil mentioned, "Today was quite an eventful day, Ethan. You will not believe the chaos in the library during the book club meeting." Ethan laughed and said, "Well, chaos and libraries do not usually go together, but I can imagine. Tell me all about it." Sicil said in exhaustion, "I will tell you all about it, but with a cup of coffee, I can't believe how busy the day was, and I am craving a good cup." Ethan agreed immediately. "Me too. How about we head to the coffee shop downtown and sipping our usual?" "That sounds perfect, Ethan. Let us go. I would really love that," said Sicil. Despite his best efforts to conceal his emotions, Sebastian found himself unable to tear his gaze away from the scene unfolding before him. The sight of Sicil and Ethan, so naturally connected and at ease in each other's company, served as a painful reminder of the distance that had grown between him and Sicil during his absence. Just then, Ethan reached out to hold Sicil's hand and pulled her towards him, a simple yet intimate act which pierced through Sebastian's heart like a sharp arrow of jealousy flowing across his body. He watched their hands intertwined, evoking a fresh surge of envy coursing within him, igniting an uncontrollable fire. Without hesitation, he advanced towards them, his every step determined and fury evident in each heavy step. Meanwhile, Sicil remains engrossed in her conversation with Ethan, unaware of Sebastian's approach and rage. The air crackled with tension as Sebastian reached out and pulled Sicil towards him, startling her with a bold, impulsive movement. As she was pulled away from Ethan, her heart pounded in her chest. Shock rippled through her when Sebastian's arms encircled her, pulling her closer with a desperate urgency even before they both knew what was happening. Sebastian's lips met hers, igniting a firestorm of sensation. His kiss was electric, sending shockwaves of desire coursing through her veins. In that intense moment, time stood still as they were enveloped in a cocoon of raw emotion. While Sicil was caught off guard, her breath caught in her throat. For Sebastian, the kiss was a culmination of years of longing and suppressed desire. Every ounce of his being was poured into that single act, a declaration of love and longing that could no longer be contained. His lips moved against hers with a fervor born of yearning and fury, seeking solace and connection in the embrace of the woman who had captured his heart. Sicil's mind raced as she struggled to make sense. Confusion warred with desire as she surrendered to the intoxicating intensity of Sebastian's kiss. She was consumed by Sebastian's overwhelming passion, her resolve weakening in the face of their undeniable chemistry. Ethan's reaction was immediate and instinctual. With a surge of adrenaline, he leapt from the bike, propelled by an overwhelming need to protect Sicil. His heart pounded in his chest, a mix of anger and concern fueling his actions. Without a moment's hesitation, Ethan stepped between Sicil and Sebastian. His gaze locked onto Sebastian's, his fists clenched at his sides, ready to blow a punch in Sebastian's face, but Sicil, regaining her composure, leaped into action. She stepped forward, immediately holding Ethan's hand, which was clenched in a fist, her outstretched arms a barrier to any potential physical clash. "Ethan, wait!" she exclaimed urgently, her eyes imploring him to stand down. "He's Sebastian!" The revelation hung in the air, momentarily freezing time as Ethan processed the unexpected twist. The fury in his eyes began to waver, replaced by confusion and disbelief. Sicil immediately positioned herself between Ethan and Sebastian to ensure there is no physical clash. Ethan stood frozen, his mind grappling with the sudden revelation. The realization that the man he had just confronted was none other than Sebastian, Sicil's long-lost love, sent shockwaves through his being. The same Sebastian whom Sicil had spoken of with fondness and longing, the same Sebastian who had left her heartbroken years ago now stood before them. For Ethan, his protective instincts, initially fueled by anger and a desire to shield Sicil from harm, now contend with the weight of this new revelation. Amidst the chaos of emotions, Sicil's father, Mr. Anderson, who was crossing by, saw the encounter and immediately stepped forward, his expression a mix of surprise and sternness. His authoritative presence demanded an explanation for the turmoil unfolding before him. "What is going on here?" he demanded, his voice cutting through the tension. He was displeased seeing Ethan along with Sicil and Sebastian. Sicil, still in shock from Sebastian's unexpected kiss and the ensuing commotion, stood in the middle, torn between the two men who held significant places in her life. Ethan, fueled by a combination of anger, heartbreak, and a sense of betrayal, spoke up first. "Mr. Anderson, Sebastian here, kissed Sicil without her consent. This is unacceptable, and I will not tolerate such behavior." Sicil's father shifted his gaze between Ethan and Sebastian to assess the situation. Little surprised by Sebastian's action, who is usually calm and collected, appeared very agitated, and Ethan, visibly upset, radiated an air of protective anger. Sensing the gravity of the matter, Mr. Anderson redirected his attention to Sebastian. "What do you have to say for yourself?" he inquired, his tone demanding an explanation. Sebastian, fighting with his own emotions, hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Sir, I love Sicil." Then he faced her and said, "I've missed you so much these last few years, I can't live without you anymore." Sebastian admitted, his voice laden with emotion, sending shockwaves through the three of them. Sicil felt a rush of emotion surge within her. His words stirred a whirlwind of conflicting feelings, surprise and disbelief. She gazed at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of insincerity. But all she found was raw honesty and vulnerability. As Sicil struggled with the revelation, her father, Mr. Anderson's stern gaze bore into Ethan, who stood on the fringes of the emotional upheaval. With a voice that brooked no dissent, he declared, "This is a family matter, Ethan. I will take it from here. You may leave now." The command was firm, a clear directive that brooked no argument. Ethan casts a lingering glance at Sicil and notices her shock and silence before reluctantly complying with Mr. Anderson's order. As he walked away, haunted by the revelation that Sebastian had returned and the uncertainty surrounding his place in Sicil's life, he remembered very clearly the hurt Sicil suffered when Sebastian had left her years ago. She always thought that Sebastian never loved her, and now he is back and is declaring his love and stake over Sicil was a shocking surprise to both of them. Sicil's mind raced as she faced the weight of Sebastian's words. Could it be possible that the love she had once believed lost was still alive and waiting to be rediscovered? She glanced at the departing Ethan, her eyes silently pleading for understanding, but his expression remained unreadable, his emotions masked behind a facade of stoicism. Finally, Sicil turned her attention back to Sebastian, her voice trembling with emotion as she spoke. "Sebastian, I do not know what to say," she confessed, uncertainty clouding her mind. "I never thought. After everything that happened." Her voice trailed off as she struggled to articulate the maelstrom of emotions swirling within her. "I do not understand. I need time to think." Sicil turned to her father and requested, "Dad, please take me home." Mr. Anderson, sensing her daughter's dilemma, placed a reassuring hand on Sebastian's shoulder, offering a gesture of understanding. The message was clear. Give her some time. Let her process the emotions that had unfolded. Sebastian watched them walking away, his heart heavy with the weight of what had transpired. He felt a wave of regret wash over him, a knot tightening in his chest as he realized his past actions in a new light. His heart ached with the knowledge that all this time Sicil had felt unloved, unseen, and unheard. She had never truly known the depth of his love for her. On one side, Sebastian stood alone on the road, not knowing what lay ahead of him. On another side, Sicil sat next to her dad, deep in thought, both replaying the chapters of their life together. The memories unfolded like a cherished novel, each page resonating with the laughter, camaraderie, and the love that had bound them together.